And so I wanted to kind of discuss our workflow and how I think we're in a reasonably good shape for that, but it's there are also gaps as well. I'm not just going to review this web page because we have this neat like diagram that Megan made me make. Okay. I agree with you, but you still made me do it. So thinking about our workflow, we talked about general principles, right? So this is going to be, I think, fairly familiar to folks that like hopefully main is stable. In principle, I'd like to be able to just like cut a new version whenever I want. Practice, it's not quite that simple, but we're reasonably close. We have issues, right? This is also probably somewhat familiar. We try to have short-lived feature branches, and then we do a merge request to put that work back in main. Do I have something here? Okay, so I think one thing that varies among projects is we do squash merges. So if you look on the main branch, every pull request has just a single merge, and to me that seemed useful because it keeps the history more understandable when you're looking at main. It also means that the disastrous Git histories that people put in their branches don't make their way into main. And I found it impossible to get people to write tidy histories in their branches, including my own, right? Like I gave up there too. Right, so the general process is you make a topic branch, you push your commits, you pass CI testing, right? If we have time, I can show you some examples of that. Now let's go ahead and do that now because I think it's really cool. So we have a wiki. This is on the web. You can go find it on our wiki. But if we do, what do we want? We want a very slow network. That's what we want. Okay, so Charliecloud and then pinned. This interface changed. Okay. But if we look at pipelines, and we have a pipeline that nags people about their code reviews every morning. It calls you delinquent. Can we find one that passed? Oh my God, Angelica, these are all your branch. All these failing CI jobs. This is your branch, which is okay. Yeah. I'm trying to. Okay, here's one that's successful. Branch. Right. And the thing that I wanted to show. Oh, come on. We don't want all the pipelines. Sorry, I should do better on this. Is this on main? Some of these are so neat, and let's find one that's not a branch. Maybe this one. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we have a bunch of stages, and I think the thing that I wanted to show was just that it's really wide, right? So we're building on different distributions. We compute the lines of code. I swear this wasn't supposed to be a comedy show. This computes the lines of code, right? We do a quick test, and then we're trying to figure it out in a bunch of different dimensions. But there's a lot of jobs going on, and if I recall correctly, this may have grown. Anyway, we do CI. It's pretty thorough. I think that's neat. And then if we go back to the SVG drawing, right, we do code reviews. I work really hard to try and get people to review my code And that's really hard because they're just like, oh, Reid knows everything, so sure, it looks great. If anybody has any tips for that. All I see is shaking heads. If you figure it out, please let me know. Iterate, what? Right, so the suggestion was Easter egg bugs in the code, and I've tried that, and it wasn't particularly effective. Then we merged to main. Okay, so we have issues. So like we could do this as a commit.
I guess I would argue
Yeah, go ahead.
code review isn't really to find those Easter egg bugs though.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why it doesn't work is it's
Mm-hmm.
to find those obvious mistakes that you made beforehand, in my opinion. Just like, oh, did you miss this test case? Did you forget to put this in? Something like that. That's kind of how we do it with GCC.
Yeah, okay, so the question is, the Easter egg bugs is not the right granularity. And I think that makes a lot of sense. The goal was to like get them to actually pay attention, and it wasn't all that effective. Right, but we have an issue here. These look normal. We have labels. Where do we go? Right, so the ideal life cycle, right, is we get something incoming as the default. Right, so one of the things that was enabled when we moved to GitLab is sort of a deeper concept of issue labeling, right? GitLab puts the status, okay, so GitLab lets you change this status right here, right? And there's 4 different categories that they give us, right? You can see that the little icons are different colors. Open means something is left to do. Close means nothing left to do, right? So, ideally you get incoming. We're like, oh, that's real. Let's do it. And then somebody works on it. So that's open, in progress. Somebody's working on it. Now we're done, right? Of course, there's others. We have blocked, which means that we're waiting on something else. Uncertain means we don't know what to do about it. Ideally, we don't get into those, but there's quite a lot of those. Duplicate is probably fairly common. No action. So there's a distinction, I think, between no action and won't fix, right? No action is something that Charliecloud is not able to solve, right? I don't know if I have an example off the top of my head, right? But won't fix means that we could solve it, but we're not going to. Right, those happen actually less. Moot is when the issue becomes obsolete for some reason or another, and then so this one I don't see too much in other bug trackers. Works for me. I do see a lot out there, and this is like we can't reproduce it. I think we could do a good job of having a relatively small number of those, and then. So then some of the other label, okay, so those are the status, and then there's also the labels. These look like just like tags, right? So it's these guys in here, and they're neat colors. But we have 7 different pieces that we label. You can have more than one of these, so chrun, chimage, installation. So many are in the testing, like, I'm surprised how much effort we put into keeping the test suite working. So we have these are 3 dimensions here, right? So we have the component, the type, and there's a 4th dimension, right? So is something broken? That's a bug. Does it work? But it could be better. That's actually an enhancement. This surely is Megan's fault. The actual tag is spelled correctly, and then refactor is, we changed something, but hopefully users didn't notice. Urgency, and so urgency and impact, they're kind of based really loosely on the Debian bug reporting guidelines, which made sense to me. So like, urgency is how soon do you need to do the thing in order to have an impact, and then like impact is what are the consequences of doing or not doing the thing, right? So, you know, panic immediately. I think that this range actually works reasonably well. I don't know if we've ever actually had a panic, and if we did, it might get fixed before we get it into the bug database. But we definitely have the other four, right? And it's like soonish, someone's waiting, eventually, as time permits, or if we get, you know, excited about doing something cool. Deferred generally don't happen. Impact, so like, we don't need to read all this in detail, but it's like which use cases are affected. So things to consider. You know what? I bet I have a better one in here. Labels. Party. Oh, there's a table here that apparently only made sense to me. But it's things like which use cases are effective, what's the impact, you know, so it could be any use case up to many use cases are high value. High value means a sponsor noticed. You know, what's the impact, inconvenience over to unusable, you know, is it a security vulnerability, impact on project sustainability? Okay, so I think that this one is interesting in the sense that certain bugs are more embarrassing than others, right? And it's worth thinking about that as you try and prioritize. Oh, that's explicit. We have embarrassment level, right? Okay, project sustainability, funding, reputation, et cetera. You know, and then embarrassment level is more. Issue types, that's probably not too important. And then we also have goals about how many, like, if things are going well, how many of these are going to be open, right? So, where'd it go? Right. We want no critical bugs to be open, right? We want no serious bugs to be open. This one I think is true. I think serious we have less than a dozen, maybe less than a half dozen. Important, we want there to be few of those open. Normal, realistic goal being many, and then same for minor. Megan, we roll over at 2:45, right? Okay. Code reviews. This took a fair amount of thinking because the way that I wanted to think about them was different than what GitLab and GitHub let you do. They let you approve, comment, or reject a change. And you can also put individual comments in, right? So, and then there's another dimension, which is whether the issue is a draft or not, right? So the way that I landed on it with discussion from the team was, you know, that we were going to ignore the comment thing because that was hard to understand. And instead, you either approve it or request changes, right? If you approve it, that means it's ready to proceed. After the suggestions are considered, right? And so then we trust the coder to do or not do the suggestions based on their judgment, right? So if you say approve, you're saying I don't need to re-review it. If you're saying request changes, you say yes, I do need to approve it. But you can also ask for changes under the approve category, right? This is what I landed on. You know, various feedback types, expectations. Oh yeah, we generally don't have too many trouble with this. Thorough, I guess, is something that I excel at, which Angelica will talk about, having seen her slides. Constructive, kind. Criticize the work, not the person. I think that that's less. That view has grown in the time that I've been doing computing, which is good. Don't duplicate CI, which could be related to your feedback right there. Close issues when actually resolved. Okay, this is something that we differ with others. Some projects really don't like stale issues, right? And they close them using robots. We don't do that. You know, it'll stay broken forever sometimes, but we're not going to pretend that it's not broken, right? I think it really helps when folks document first and then write the code. There's a branch naming scheme. We have milestones that we put issues into to like sort of think about what the next version is. Draft just means that you want feedback, but it's not ready to get merged. So GitLab, this is interesting. So GitHub, the number pool for issues and pull requests on GitHub is the same. So you cannot have an issue and a pull request with the same number. On GitLab, they're different. So you can have a merge request and an issue with the same number. That's bad, in my view. So the way that we do it is that every merge request has to have an issue attached to it. And then the issues only are the canonical set of changes, right? And yeah, I think that's my ramblings about our workflow, which I think generally works pretty well. Who's speaking next? Okay.